So welcome everybody to today's webinar, Agile Testing and the Future of Automation. You know, given the hundreds, literally hundreds of attendees we have today, it's clear that this topic has incredibly widespread interest and appeal. And we have two goals for today's presentation. The first goal is to validate any pain that you might be feeling. And what I mean by that is, if you are experiencing an incredible time crunch and are joining us here because you're seeking ways to achieve greater efficiency in the software development and quality management process, then you are not alone. And I wanted to pull this example. Just look at the projections for the App Store alone. This is a good cross-sectional representation of both consumer and business apps. And as you can see, the number of apps is projected to surpass 5 million in the App Store by 2020. That's over 70% increase in just 4 years. So what that's telling us is the competitive landscape is really driving this increase in speed to market. And this is something that literally all of us are embroiled in at this time. The second point of today is we are here to help you illuminate your journey. Every company and organization's journey is different, but we hope today to impart some useful information and guidance. And of course, the wheels of change, as we all know, are constantly turning. And our everyday focus here at Zephyr is to help each of our clients take the next right step in their journey to achieve greater efficiency and productivity. And with that said, that's a perfect segue into an introduction of our featured speaker today, because I can think of no one better to discuss Agile and automation than Dr. Milan Verma. Milan is a test management and automation expert with 15 years of experience consulting to literally hundreds of companies. Milan has provided services to large enterprise organizations as a software consultant at both HP and BMC. And he's undertaken software development work for companies both big and small across Europe while working for Automation Logic. Now, prior to working as a software consultant, Milan was a research assistant and lecturer, and he provided visual attention consultancy to UK government subsidiaries. He's also published articles in high-ranking scientific journals, has referenced white papers, and he holds a PhD in both artificial intelligence and automation. So currently, Milan is the lead client services engineer for us here at Zephyr across all of EMEA, which basically means he's a super busy person. And it is my pleasure to turn the presentation over to Milan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tom. Some kind words. So it's a real pleasure to be speaking with all of you today. I'll be sharing some insights into the evolving landscape of software testing as I've seen it over the last few years. So we'll be discussing Agile testing, the future of automation, and how Zephyr is essentially here to assist with the quality of the process you can use, right? I've seen this over the few years where Zephyr's come in, we've worked with teams to help them evolve and essentially get the teams to collaborate more and to bring the teams all together and not be so siloed. So my good friend here, Aristotle, once said, quality is not an act, it's a habit. Right? Aristotle was actually onto something here when he shared this statement with the world. Old habits are hard to shake, but in a world where pressure is there to deliver the highest quality of product as quickly as possible, it's imperative to have the foundations in place to make efficient and quick changes. And often I've seen some last-minute changes as well. So there might be a release that's pending, it's about to go out, an issue is observed, and you need to be agile enough to make the change. So essentially, the end goal is to deliver and make sure that it becomes a productive habit. That's why companies are going agile. So traditional software delivery, where you've got a linear process, handoffs from one department to another, they might seem like a very long time ago, but they're still used in organizations today, especially if you're coming across older projects which started using this approach, but because of perceived pain of change, they found it difficult to revert these projects to an agile way of working. It's difficult because you want to keep up to pace with the demands of your customers. You want to be able to do so much more, and you want to be efficient with your time. So it's a challenge. What about considering what you'll lose out on if you don't change? So a better way of doing things is continuous software delivery. So you know that things need to be changed. You need to work in a different way. So continually accelerating the process of development is what we want. We want to be able to deliver software, and it needs to be broken down into smaller and more frequent increments. So you need to organize the pipeline around these smaller components, and this is often known as continuous software delivery. You're essentially streamlining the flow of information and the process between the departments. Zephyr for Jira is a solution inside of the Jira environment, test management capability inside the Jira environment, very friendly for those that are using Jira already. There's also Zephyr Teams and Zephyr Enterprise, a more scalable, a more feature-rich solution to support your evolving testing needs at scale. So I'll talk to you about how the solution works. I'll show you around. I'll show you how Zephyr Teams and Zephyr Enterprise looks. And I'll show you how you can work with Vortex to facilitate your automation journey. This is Zephyr Enterprise. In the requirements application, you'll observe on the top left-hand side here, we have a folder structure which hold requirements. These requirements are actually Jira requirements. These are user stories, epics, new features, improvements, thankfully all organized in a subfolder fashion and showing all of your live data as well. You can build traceability reports around these requirements, etc. as well. But you take these requirements at a starting point and you go into the test repository, you build out your test cases again in a folder structure manner. Test cases look like this, where you've got your traditional steps to execute, your expected results, etc. This is all of the manual process at first, which I'll just quickly introduce you to, and then I'll jump into the automation. And then after you've built out these test cases, align them to the stories, you go into the test planning application and add in some sprints. Like I said, these could be 1 to 4 week sprints. You add in your test cases into these phases, align them to testers. The testers come in, they see the cycles transposed as subfolders. So you see cycles and phases. You go into the test cases. You start flagging the steps as being pass, fail, work in progress, etc. If you encounter a failure, no problem. You click on the D button, file a defect, and the defect gets filed into Jira. So that's all well and good from a manual testing perspective, or even a semi-automated perspective where there might be a command line execution path here. But what about full automation? Well, for full automation, there is the Vortex add-on. So the Vortex add-on allows you to click on the plus button and add in an automation framework. Here I've got UFT, Selenium, and also Cucumber here as well. And you configure a job, you select which automation framework you'd like to use, you put in the command line execution path for triggering the suite, where the results are going to be placed. So the results for this Cucumber run are going to be placed here. It's going to be on this particular machine. You click on the E button and you kick off the process. Add a postfix timestamp. So it goes off and kicks off the Cucumber scripts. The scripts will run, the results will be generated, and the results will then get placed back. You'll see some notifications popping up on the top right-hand side here. So they'll get placed here into the test planning application. As you can see over here, you'll see a brand new sprint created here. They'll get placed, the test cases themselves aligning to the scripts will get placed into the repository. They'll also come into test execution as well, where you'll be able to go in and take a look at the execution results. So in this case, if we take a look at the failed test case here, you'll observe that the test case failed. There's a screenshot, or in this case, actually, it's a log file with the Java exception. The Gherkin format is transposed into steps. We'll see the failed test case over here. So you'll see the failure there. You can then manually click here to create a defect. I say manually because that's best practice. I would not recommend automating the defect process at all. And then you go into looking at the reports. So you can look at the live reports, observe your automation results. This can be on your browser, any browser, preferably Chrome. It can be on any platform. It can be on your mobile device even, and to observe the automation results. And if you're looking at cycles, manual cycles or sprints in this way, you can click through and observe the cycle, the phase, the subfolders, and drill down and look at the lower level information. There's also analytics here as well. And up at the top here, there's the Zephyr dashboards, as well as a DevOps dashboard as well. But before I wrap up with automation, one key feature I'd like to highlight here is the folder watcher. So the folder watcher facilitates completely full automation. Whereas with the automation tab here, you have to click on a button to trigger one or more jobs. You can, select multiple jobs and trigger them in bulk even, but you're still nevertheless semi-automated because you're triggering. But with the folder watcher, you can continue testing as you're doing, and you just listen in on a folder. It might be the Cucumber results path in this case, or it might be the Jenkins workspace location that you're listening in on every n number of minutes. So in this case, every 60 seconds, every minute. And as soon as you do something, so for instance, let's go into Jenkins and run a job. Let's log in here. And we'll listen in on the results location for Jenkins here as well. So you go in and you run this build. It's running away. We go back to Vortex. It's listening in on that folder location where the results of this of the automation are being placed. And when this job is done and the results are ready, Zephyr's folder watcher will recognize that new results are ready to work to be imported inside of Zephyr Enterprise, and it'll auto import the results in. So in a moment or two, it'll pop up with a notification. Let me just fast forward and show you how this will look. So it'll pop up again with a folder watcher sprint over here with the results placed into there. Again, in the test case execution area, you'll see folder watcher folder automatically created with the results. The test cases will also be placed inside the test repository, and you'll be able to observe all of these results in the live charts, in the dashboards, in the DevOps dashboard, as well as being able to compose some custom reports as well. Okay, so that actually finished, that job finished, and the results are placed at the bottom there, you can see. So with that, I'd like to hand over back to my colleague, Tom.
Okay, so as we conclude, I wanted to provide a quick note and some specific context about Zephyr. So, we are the world's largest software testing solution, and one of the reasons that I wanted to point out is the reason we're so widely utilized is that we do provide truly end-to-end test management solutions designed to satisfy teams of all sizes and stages. So whatever the next step is you're wanting to achieve in your quality assurance, we want to have a solution for you and help you move to that next level of efficiency. And ultimately, our goal for every one of our clients is to achieve full utilization of these tools to achieve full continuous testing agility, as Milan pointed out. And for those of you who haven't tried Zephyr, we do invite you to a free trial of Zephyr that's available off of the website. This concludes the formal part of the presentation, but we now want to go into the Q&A section of the presentation.